Okay, it's been a few weeks since we filmed that earlier piece on in this same creek, and as you can see, it's had a bit of rain, not much rain, just over an inch, I believe. The creek hasn't flowed; it's just filled the billabongs, I guess. Maybe a little bit of flow here and there, but certainly hasn't been a flood. But now there's water here, and we can put into practice those principles we were talking about earlier about where to find the gold and where to sample for the gold. So what Ben and I are going to do today is sample in those spots that we were showing you earlier on, and pan the samples out in the water that we've got here today, and let's see if we can get some colour. Oh, and if you're wondering what I'm got on my legs here, these are snake chaps. The king browns are pretty ferocious out here this time of the year. It's breeding season, and we don't want any snake bites because we're a long way from town. That's why we're dressed like this today. Right, before we do too much more, to show you what gear you need to do this kind of activity up in the goldfields. It's a pretty inexpensive hobby. You can get a whole pan kit for under $100, and that'll be all you need pretty much. I've got my prospecting pick. That's of limited use, but I can use that to break up any bedrock crevices. Little gardening shovel is pretty inexpensive. You can get them at a hardware shop, just for scooping up your fines and cleaning out your holes. This is a homemade crevicing tool. It's just a T-handle with a bit of stainless wire on it. That's for getting right down in those cracks and pulling that material out of the cracks. That's where the gold's going to be. The gold goes like, that's the recovery bottle for when you get your flakes in the pan. Suck them up into that to take them home. Now, this is too wet today to use a brush and a dustpan. You really need to use a brush in the dry to get the bottom of the crevices, but I can't do that today, so I haven't got a brush with me. So I'm down to the crevicing tool. I'm underwater actually today. That's the Garrett sieve that comes in the kit. Any sieve will do. You can make your own actually, just out of wire mesh. That's about a 10mm gap on that, I think. For your oversize, just throw that out. This is a 14-inch pan. It's, as you can see, it's eccentric. That means it's got a big working base, but it's off-centre, so it's easy to use with one hand. And work your oversize out on the flat area. You got the ripples there to catch the gold. This is the big Garrett Super Sluice that they've been making for many years. It's kind of the industry standard in gold pans. The colour's designed to contrast with the yellow of the gold. But there are any number of pans on the market. You can still buy the old tin dish if you really want to work hard for your gold. But that's not much gear to buy to get your family out into this hobby. So, you know, a basic pan, a bit of digging gear, the knowledge that you've got to go to the bottom, into the bedrock. If once you get in your local gold field and know a bit of the geology, you might find you have a full spot on there where you've got a clay layer, and that's what you've got to process. But you'll learn from where you go and from talking to any prospectors that you find in the field or anyone who knows the country you're in. So that's the sort of gear you need to get started. Water's handy, otherwise you're dry panning. That's a whole different technique. But bring your own water if you have to. Just bring a tub of water and a couple of jerry cans and you're away, even in the dry. So inexpensive hobby, great outdoor activity. So Ben and I are working this bit of ground here where we've got water. A few weeks ago we were up here and it was dry as a bone. So I've just creviced from up there and come down and washed in this bit of a little bit of a billabong, and I've got a colour in the first dish. So this shows you, you know, how much gold's out here. I don't know if you can see that in the video. Ben's going to point it out there. Gold's very hard to film. There we go, so it's sitting up nice and high. It's a nice little piece. I'll just use that the suction bottle to pull it up. So what we've done there, we've picked that up. Ben, you've been working just down these rock bars here?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we picked it up on these rock bars like we showed you earlier. Downstream of the bars where you got your low pressure zones, and the gold's bounced down in there and dropped in there lazy. So we'll just keep working these crevices and see if we can get a bit more colour out of it. So I've just got the Garrett Gold guzzler here. We're just going to pick up this piece. That's quite a nice little flake we've got there. Get in the bottle, and what I'll do, I'll continue to clean out this crevice. So I've got that piece in there. Good start to the day, first dish. We'll keep cleaning out this crevice up here. I'll show you that now, and see if we can get a few more pieces out of it. Where I am here is one of the spots Ben and I showed you a few weeks ago when there's no water in this creek system. We've got some bedrock exposed here. That's one thing you've got to look for, bedrock, because that's the bottom. There's nothing below this. It's really hard metamorphic bedrock. So what we've got here is a low pressure zone where it's come over this little tiny waterfall here into this little plunge pool, and then there's a secondary lot of bedrock, like a second riffle, which is perpendicular to the water flow in the flood. And downstream of that, in this little gravel area, what drew me to this was a little run of gravel. So I can see that material is being deposited from the flood. So I went to the bottom there. This actually is quite fractured, this material, so I broke it up and I was able to get down in the crevices as deep as I could. That's where I got that one little flake. So what we'll do, we'll continue working in this little area here. As you can see, it all just comes apart, and see what else we've got downstream of this secondary riffle here. So into it. First thing I'll do is going to sieve the oversize. So I'll pull all this material out of here and I'll work right down to the crevice. I've got a little stainless crevicing tool because I get right into the bottom there, and it's actually under water. The water's flowing into this crevice. That's okay. Makes the recovery of the material pretty easy. So I'll just keep working this and I'll show you what comes out in the next dish. So what I got in here is this homemade crevicing tool. It's just a T-handle with a bit of stainless. In the back of this rock here, this actually breaks up. That's the piece I just got out. So even though that's bedrock, that's solid, but you've got fractured zones in here where you can actually get down in the cracks and remove pieces of the bedrock. That's where the gold's going to be. That's where I've got that little piece. So I'm just going to disturb all that in there. You can't see it, it's pretty murky in there, but make sure I get to the very bottom and pick up the fines that I've disturbed out of there. I can feel that crevice and the fines coming out of it there, all along in here. We'll remove any of the loose stuff. All this stuff's worth taking. We'll just sieve all that. Just letting a bit more water into my pond here. And all this gravel, you can see it's built up behind that rock there, look at that. I'll clean that out properly, not just by hand. But these are the sort of areas where you can have a bit of a scratch. I mean, kids love this kind of thing. It's great for a family. And they get that excited when they see a little bit of colour in the pan. Really good family pastime. You're out in the bush, you're away from your iPads and your video games. It's great fun. Just check I haven't got any big nuggets in that sieve. If you put them in your pocket, you're doing well. If they don't go through that 10mm sieve. Okay. So agitate this material in this. I'm using the big super sluice today because I want to get through a bit of material. The new 14-inch eccentric pan is an absolute ripper, but this has always been an old favourite of mine. This is a new one. I've got an old one at home. It's just nearly faded white. It's done that much work, but just keep the material in motion. Keep it moving around in the pan. Just bring the water back every now and then, and make sure you break it up. This material is quite gravelly and it's quite sandy. It's just a fine sandy gravel. But often you'll get clays in these creeks, and you've got to make sure you break them up. Hence that puddler up there we showed you earlier in the video. That's what that was designed to do. So obviously those blokes that built that were working ground that wasn't gravelly like this. It'll be close to this spot, but there's clearly some pretty puggy ground where they had trouble recovering the gold from the clay, so hence the puddler. Just keep agitating that, and all that oversize, the light oversize, and just brush that off. There's not going to be gold in that. You get in the bottom of the pan just in case there's a bit of clay in there, and you can bust it up with your fingers. A lot of fun in the summer, in the hot weather. Nice and cool in here today, a bit overcast. But as a summer activity in Australia, in goldfield creeks where you got water, and that's a bit of an ask in some regions, but anyway, a lot of fun for the kids. Set up a bit of shade for them, sit your chairs in the creek, and you might go home with a bit of gold. Okay, we're getting down to the fine stuff there. That first pan, I didn't have much black sand. It was just the flake gold, so I'm not getting many concentrates in the pan. Right, we're getting down to the business end now, down to the fine material. So you want to be careful at this point you don't tip the pan up too much. Very difficult with a super sluice to lose gold because of those 45-degree riffles. Absolutely awesome. I mean, I've spoken to plenty of blokes who still swear by the old tin dish. Good on them. I mean, it's an art to work that thing and they get gold with it. But this super sluice, for anyone who's never panned, or even for anyone who's got a lot of panning experience, great pan. So easy to use. Unless you flip it upside down, it's almost impossible to lose gold out of it. Righto, so I'll just float out that. I'll probably get to the point now where I want to start looking at what I got. And any sort of these 5mm rocks we can dispense with, they're not gold, obviously. Now if you're worried about pyrites, fool's gold, don't be, because when you see the real thing, you will not mistake it for anything else. Pyrites will be flaky and shiny and it'll float in the pan. Gold will not. It'll be usually buttery yellow and it'll sit in the bottom of the pan because it's so heavy. And I can see I've got at least one piece in here now. Let's get all the material in the bottom of the pan. Bring it round. Okay, I've got quite a few little flakes there. Not as big as the first one, but that was another good dish. So that spot I'm working is worthwhile. I can break up a lot more of that bedrock yet, and so there'll be more gold in there. It'll be all like this. I'll just show you that now, what kind of size we're getting here. But once again, these are the principles that we were talking about earlier in the video. Gold is where you find it. That's the old adage, and it's true. You can find gold anywhere, and it's inexplicable sometimes. But you maximise your chances of finding fine gold in these low pressure zones, in these creek zones. But of course, this fine gold will be up on the flats too. But this is just where it concentrates, and it's easier to work on when you're starting out. So we're doing all right here this morning. I'll just show you this piece we've got here, and we'll move on and get another sample out of that crack. Okay, here's my second dish of the day. Got a nice little flake there that I can pull back up in the gold guzzler. Smaller than the last piece, but that crevice is producing 2 pans, 2 pieces of colour. And there are smaller pieces in there that probably won't photograph that well. But there you go, proof's in the pudding. We're getting gold in the creek system, where it should be. So here's Ben working upstream of where I am. You're working in this in this big rock bar here, Ben.
Yeah, this rock bar. I figure that it hasn't crossed that where we were sitting there earlier in the video.
Yeah.
It hasn't crossed that. The leaf lid is up high.
Oh, true.
So,
yeah, I can see. Yep.
So it hasn't gone over the top of that. So there's not really any gold in there. So the gold's worked. The river's worked its way around here.
Okay. Yeah.
So some of these natural rocks across here, and I'm working the back of them, where the gold's sort of. Even though it's run fairly quickly through here, there's a low pressure zone here. There'll be a low pressure zone in behind this rock here.
Yep.
Like that wash there is probably worthwhile looking at.
So it's almost an inside bend.
Yep.
We haven't had enough rain to come over this big rock bar, but you're sort of working a micro system there.
Yep. Yeah. And this is the inside bend. As this comes around here, the water's coming around this against this rock wall here, and that's why this rock wall's here, because it's eroded that.
Yeah.
And anywhere in here or any of these little riffles are what the gold's catching.
Yep. Oh, that's good. And you've got to get a bit of colour there already.
A bit of colour there already.
Yeah.
But that was out of in front of that big rock there.
Oh, so right. Where we were sitting a few weeks ago.
There. So there wasn't a lot in there. But
okay. We're coming into summer. We haven't had the big floods this year yet.
Not yet.
No. Righto. All this is great. This is going well.
Yeah.
Righto. I just got my third dish there. The flakes are smaller, much smaller. You won't even see them in the video. So I've got 5 little flakes in there. So That's just an example of working in those areas we were talking about earlier. The low pressure zones get deep into the crevices down on the bottom, and you'll get that colour. So that's a worthwhile exercise. We've had a lot of fun there. What we're going to do now is do a bit of detecting up on the flats, so hopefully we'll get a piece up in there. Righto, so this morning Ben and I got some gold in the pan. Now we're at with the detectors, and we've hit a patch here. We've probably got about 10 pieces of gold now.
So this area, we've just raked this area just to clean it up, to take the leaf litter off. But the target's just here somewhere.
It's only shallow, it's like just under the topsoil, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I'm already down to the clay.
Oh, you're on the clay. Yeah, it's real shallow ground, and the gold's hanging up in that grey clay. Okay, so here's this, I just got a piece of gold not far from where Ben got that first piece. Mine's smaller, of course. Probably about 3 metres away. And we've got a lovely little piece here. It's probably half a gram. That's nice, look at that. It's a beautiful little round nugget. So we've got more targets in there. So I think there's more gold to come. So we're all working this little patch here. What have we got now, Ben? 5 pieces or 6? I'm not sure. 5, 6 pieces.
Danny's just onto another bit here.
Righto. It's all pretty shallow on top of this grey clay wash. I just got this with the ATX. You can see I've got the 8-inch mono there because it's nice and sensitive. And here's my piece of gold. That's a nice piece, that one. Look at that one. She's a ripper. It's a pretty solid piece, actually. The other ones we had earlier had a bit of ironstone in them. That one's a ripper. We've got about 8 pieces out of this patch so far. Colleen's 18 Max, she just turned the headphones off. Very shallow gold. It's in this little bit of topsoil here.
Yeah, I think someone's already been digging on it, huh?
That's a good target, that.
Yep, so you got it. This will be gold.
Yeah.
This will be gold. It's very shallow. Very shallow ground here. We're on the side of a creek. And none of the targets have been more than a couple of inches down.
Was that it there?
Yeah, there it is. There's Colleen's gold. That's your 3rd piece for the day, isn't it?
Oh,
That's a nice piece. Oh, it's a big piece. Look at that. Pull it out.
It hasn't beaten the king of the patch.
No, Ben's got the king of the patch so far, so there it is there. We'll get it in the sunshine if we can.
It's a nice one.
Yeah, it's a nice piece. They're all about 1/4 of a gram, I reckon. That's a beauty, that one. Oops, she's gone back into Mother Nature. So,
Yeah.
nice work. I've just got a really good signal over here, dappled light. I don't know how this is going to go as a live dig, but I'll have a crack, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be another piece. Not really any junk in here. As you can see, I've got 8 mono, 8-inch mono. Not sort of signal you're going to walk past, and it's all shallow through here. Just under this topsoil layer. There it is there. In the front of this mullock, I've already pulled it out of the ground. Yeah, we've got a little piece of gold that was less than 1 inch down. There we go. We'll come up close. Bring it over into the sun. There we go. Not the biggest piece of the day, but it's fairly typical of what we're getting. That's a really nice little nugget. Okay, I just got, I think, a 10th or 12th piece there. It was almost sitting on the top. ATX 8-inch mono again. Some nice gold in this patch. Okay, Colin's just got another piece with Max. You're an old metal mate, aren't you?
Yes, all metal.
That's a nice piece, look at that.
Yeah.
Fairly typical of the sizes we're getting all day, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think we've got,
it's nice.
I don't know, 15 pieces. Well, we've just had a bit of lunch and a cold drink back at the cars, and 5 minutes in I've got another little piece of gold, the ATX of the mono. Rough little piece, that one. We're just sort of theorising about this patch, and what we're doing now is working out the extent of it. And all the golds are similar size. Nothing really large, nothing up near a gram, but nugget skip, is it?
Yep.
This will be a nice little piece. There's so many little pieces in this patch. So it's in your hand now, is it? Oh, you hear it at the pan. Hit the gold. You could hear it at the nugget scoop. I could see it go in actually. I saw it go in. There it goes.
Yeah.
You hear that? Look at that.
There it is.
Yeah. Nice little piece. Good signal, eh? What'd you say that was registering only in the 20,
15.
like late 15
No,
to 20, 15?
Okay folks, I just wanted to record this. We've actually got 4 machines all detecting the one little area.
Alright, so what do we got here, mate? We've had lunch and you got a good signal with the max here.
We've got a decent signal here.
It is out. We have disturbed the ground. This is not the.
It's a good signal though.
Yeah.
Good strong signal.
So what that looks like topsoil there, but well, it is topsoil, but it's coming out. You can see the hole where Ben's dug there.
It's sitting on this grey clay here. So we'll see if we can. Get him in the. Not in that one.
I don't think we've got. I don't think we've got a target deeper than an inch in this this patch.
Oh well, the clay's so shallow.
Yeah. So nuggets, we've got what they're ranging from about 0.1 was about the smallest up to what was Gerhardt's 2 point something grams.
No, that was in total. So it would have been what, 1.5 grams.
Oh, sorry, his was 1.5 grams.
Yeah, something.
So there's no screaming great queen nugget here yet.
No, not yet.
This could be it.
No, this isn't it.
That's pretty good audio, repeatable audio now. Yep, you can hear the blade of that double D smashing that target in the middle there.
But it's
right where Ben's about to scrape it. He's got it.
Got it in the scoop. There it is.
It's gold, yep.
Yep, piece of gold. You can see it there. Get rid of that. I've just covered it up.
Just to focus. Just sunk down through the okay, it's in his. There she is. Oh, it's a nice little piece. Look at that. Nice one.
You can hear that, like when we talk about a sharp signal, that's a good sharp signal.
That's good. Yep. So here's the result of today's prospecting adventure. It's a good day out by any measure. We've got some nice water-worn nuggets and we've got some quite coarse ones. So the area definitely warrants further investigation. We'll be back. And this gold was all in a spot where you'd expect to find gold, an inside bend of a creek line. The little stuff was quite high and shallow. The bigger stuff was down on the bank. All makes sense. So yeah, it's a great day out. Well, I hope you found that informative, everybody. Thanks for watching and happy fossicking. Bye for now.